Hello friends, it's Kayla. This is my first TBR of the year. In 2022, I'm doing seasonal TBRs, so I will check in with you every like 3 to 4 months and let you know what I plan to read in those next coming months. In this first one, we're covering quite a few months. I'm going to talk to you about my reading for February, March, April, and May. I'm going to call it my spring TBR, even though it's not like spring at all, but it will be. So I think that makes sense. And then I'll have a summer TBR and then like a fall/winter TBR, but I might just call it an end of year TBR. And I thought these could be fun because it allows me, because like I'm going to read 60 books probably in the next 4 months, but it allows me to talk about some of what I'm reading, but not all of it. It gives me the opportunity to move around my TBR because usually what I'm reading revolves around the videos that I'm making, and sometimes I want to shift those. Or sometimes, like next month, I'm going to leave it up to my channel members to control like which TBR comes first. Also, I can ask for your input on certain things, and there's enough time to like gather what you have recommended I read if I'm trying to read for something specific. What else? Why am I trying to justify this seasonal TBR with you? Last year I did like bi-monthly TBRs. It's not the craziest idea, but I'm just excited about covering a lot of things. I can also do upcoming releases, which is gonna be great. And remind you of upcoming Literally Dead book club selections. So let us start there. I have many books in this pile. So let's actually start by genre. So I have a whole bunch of thrillers that I want to read in the next 4 months. Some of them include Razorblade Tears, which is the February selection of the Literally Dead book club. This is about two fathers. Their sons were married and then murdered, and they're coming together to solve the murder. They both say that they loved their sons, but they didn't necessarily show that to them while they were living. So for them, it's a small opportunity of retribution, and it seems to be a kind of slow burn mystery. Then in April, I'll be reading with all of you All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. I pitched these specifically already in this video if you want to hear more, but the general gist is there is a woman and her boss dies and she was sleeping with him, and then she gets promoted into his position and everybody thinks she probably killed him, and I guess she's gonna solve who actually did it. If she didn't, maybe she did it. I don't know. Going through ones that I already have like in my hands. I'm also gonna read How to Kill Your Best Friend by Lexi Elliott in the next couple months. Yes, it will be for a video, but I'm gonna keep the other books for that video to myself. This one I'm just really interested in because I love books set on islands. And this one is about like mainly two friends, and their third friend drowned, but she's like an expert swimmer, so that doesn't seem like something that's reasonable to them. So on a weekend at an island resort that friend previously owned, they're like celebrating her life or finding out what really happened, or they're there to celebrate her life and then they also find out what really happened. I think that's what's up with that one. Next, I'll be reading When I'm Through With You by Stephanie Kuhn. And this seems to be about a group of friends who went camping and then some deaths happened, and now we're reading from the perspective of somebody who's in prison and he's telling the truth about the incident. This one's also for a video, a different video, but probably the next vlog that you'll see from me, I think. If you want more hints to that vlog, I think I'm gonna be posting everything that I'm reading on my Instagram. So you can follow me here if you want to have fun guessing with everybody what the theme of the TBR is. Next up, here's what I'm really into right now. I want to read this year haunted house stories. And they can really be any vibe. They can be more psychological, they can be more truly paranormal, they can be slower, they can be action-packed, and I definitely need your recommendations for this. On my TBR already for later in the year, I have Kill Creek and Gnarled Hollow and The Ghost Bride, I think it's called. But in this first like quarter of the year, the ones that I just recently picked up are 12 Nights at Rotterhouse by J.W. Ocker. And this is about a man who is writing a novel and he goes to stay in this haunted house with his friend to get like inspiration for his book. And then they have to discover what's worse, the secrets of Rotterhouse or the secrets between friends. Then I grabbed this because the title and the cover just really did it for me. It's called Tell Me I'm Worthless by Allison Rumfitt. And this says that 3 years ago, we have some friends who stayed in an abandoned house. And then I think one of them like never came out, or like the house is holding her spirit hostage. This seems to be a literary gothic horror. I think it's going to be slower and it's going to be more about our main characters modern day trans experience. But memories of that night torment her mind, and then she's gonna end up going back to that haunted house, and real world terrors and supernatural terrors are combined. Sounds right up my alley. If you have any other recommendations, especially from other parts of the world, varied experiences, translated works, I would love your recommendations. And then a couple other thrillers that I don't have with me but have a release date within the next couple months. One of them is the March selection for the Literally Dead Book Club, which is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. And this one is about a girl who goes to stay in her brother's Paris apartment, and then he's not there. And there's a whole cast of characters in the apartment building, and they all have secrets, and she finds out, well, I don't know, where her brother is. And also I'm sure there's other sketchy things afoot. Also, I'm really interested in The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkoff, which I talked about in my most anticipated video. I think I have this on hold from the library, so hopefully it shows up in the next 4 months. This is about a true crime writer in an isolated farmhouse writing a book. Then she finds herself trapped within the walls and haunted by secrets. Could we consider this a haunted house story? Let me know. I'm trying to read one every month. That's not for a specific video, but I definitely could at the end of the year do a video about haunted house stories, because like I have other ones that I've loved. Another one is called 9 Lives by Peter Swanson, which Gabby's reading for her book club. Has she announced that? I think so. So I'm going to be reading this, and it's about 9 strangers. They all receive a cryptic list with their name on it, and then the people start to die on it. And we're following an FBI agent who has to figure out how they're all connected. And her life is also at risk. Let me tell you about some rereads I'll be doing. So in the coming months, you will see a childhood favorites video from me. It's going to be for 10th grade, which is the year that I met Rob. So we're going to go through all of that. There's going to be a fun members only spin-off video with me and Rob doing something silly. And again, I'm not going to give away my entire TBR for that. But one book you can expect to see that I'm so excited to reread is Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. And this is about a woman living in London and her glamorous, rich life, but she's actually not rich, and she's running from all of the debt collectors, and she writes articles about how to save money, and she's just a total fraud, and she gets into a lot of hijinks, and it's very fun. So I'm excited to reread that for the first time in probably at least 12 years. I always like base books on, have I read this since Liam was born? That's how I gauge how long it's been since I read something. Another thing that I'm going to end up reading for the second time is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. There is an entire TBR for this video where I reread old favorites. We already had part 1 in 2021, and I needed a break from that experience because rereading old favorites does not go well for me a lot of the time. And it's not so much that I think the selection isn't going to continue to be favorites, but because I call them questionable favorites, like here's the video, there's just a lot of conversations that are going to come up that are fun, but I need to be mentally prepared for. So one of them is here. I'm sure many of you remember the entire list of things, but in case you don't, I don't want to give the whole thing away, and it'll be fun to find out for you in the video. And this is about a group of siblings who were all adopted, and now as they're older and more aware, they come together and they learn from each other. I think it was great. I think it was one of my favorite books of the year. Does it hold up amongst everything, all of my favorites from the last like 10 years? We're gonna find out. Ooh, next theme, let's talk about some books that have been on my TBR for a very long time. I made a recent video where I watched a whole bunch of old most anticipated videos, and I built a TBR within that video. Again, not gonna spoil the whole thing in case you wanna go back and find out with me the books that I have read and the ones that I haven't. But the goal was to do a video in the first couple months of the year where I've read that selection that I chose. So one of them is Unburied Carol by Josh Malerman. So I will be reading this entire selection at some point. And this is about a woman who has died many times. I feel like that's the only thing I really know. A haunting story of a woman literally bringing herself back from the dead. A twisted take on Sleeping Beauty. Okay. Another book that's been on my TBR for not super long, only like 2 or 3 years, but Liam and I have gotten back into reading together like every night, and we seem to be able to get through one middle grade a month. So right now we're reading something of his that's like shorter and not something I would probably put in a video. But I selected for us for the month of April My Life is an Ice Cream Sandwich by Evie Zaboy, because the Dewey's 24-hour readathon is in April, and I always read spacey books, and I thought it'd be fun to read one with him. I'll talk about the rest of my TBR for that in a second. This is not set in space, but we're following a character named Ebony Grace, whose grandfather was one of the first Black engineers to integrate NASA in the 1960s. So it's about her relationship with him. I think we're gonna learn a lot. It seems like a lot of fun. And then the other books that I have planned for that video are ones that aren't out yet. So I was thinking Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. This one comes out in April, and I've gone over the synopsis so many times and it never makes more sense. But it's that really long one about like 3 different generations. There's a famous writer who lives on the moon and then writes a story or reads a story, and then that story we also get to read about a man in the Canadian wilderness and he hears violins. Something like that. Okay, and then the other one is Alone Out Here by Riley Redgate, which if you haven't seen this video where I design book covers and then I react to the book covers when they come out, Alone Out Here was one of them, and it's Lord of Flies in Space. I added this 2 years ago when YA space was what I thought that I wanted to read. So I'm a little apprehensive about reading this one. I don't know if I'm gonna love it, but I can't not pick it up at this point. And it's about a bunch of teens in space and then deciding what to do, how to survive as the apocalypse is imminent. Okay, what's next? So let's talk about some nonfiction that I have. So I'm currently reading The New Age of Empire by Kehinde Andrews. How Racism and Colonialism Still Rule the World. And that pretty much sums it up. It's the idea that some people like to pretend that colonialism is a very distant memory. In this, he traces the idea of power, foundations of power, the idea that whiteness in the political and economic system upholds the world, a reminder that the history is never really over. I will be doing a review for this in, I don't know how long the video is gonna be from now because I'm doing things in the video that take a while. If you know, you know, but that will be up sometime. Let's say in the next month. I'm also going to be reading Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford, which is a very short memoir that a lot of people seemed to enjoy last year, so I picked it up. And this is about one woman's experience with a fraught relationship with her mother, a father who's been incarcerated. In it, she finds like the true reason that he's been incarcerated. She battles her body and her environment and embarks on a powerful journey to find the threads between who she is and what she was born into. We've lost the themes, I think. These are both also recent releases from the last 2 years that I've heard good things about. One of them is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova, which actually both of these are about family and magic. Magic's probably not the right word, but we have a woman who passes, and well, she's, I think, turned into like a tree, and her family is coming together to get their inheritance, but there's somebody who's trying to like remove the power and magic from the family by destroying, are they destroying the tree? A hidden figure begins tearing through the family tree, picking them off one by one. Oh, they're killing the people? Oh, I thought they were just gonna slowly like lose their magic and then find out that like the tree was being destroyed. Or is the family the tree, like a family tree? I don't know. I've heard incredible things and I've had it recommended to me endlessly, so I'm very grateful that my kind friend sent that my way. And then I have Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawhi Strong Washburn, which is a cover I love so much. And this is about a boy who falls overboard and then a shark delivers him back to the boat. And since then there has been this supernatural thing like following that character or the whole family. We seem to have 3 siblings all living very different lives as adults, and then the supernatural events revisit their household in Hawaii, and then they all come back together. There's tragic consequences. I don't know, I've heard amazing things. Instead of seasonal TBR, let's call this video like Kayla poorly explaining books for 20 minutes straight. Oh, and we can call this portion of the video Kayla ruining her upcoming book haul by showing you everything here instead of waiting. So these are the 3 most recent books that came into my life. This one is Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by Elle Cosimano, which is the sequel to Finley Donovan is killing it, which I read last month. It was 5 stars. In it, we're following a woman who's an author and she gets overheard. I feel like you've probably been pitched this book the exact same way so many times. Overheard killing off one of her characters. Somebody thinks that she's a hit woman and they hire her and she doesn't want to go along with it, but she gets just like sucked into the situation. Lots of hijinks. And in this one, yeah, it's the aftermath of what she did in the first book and what people are asking of her now. Another one, while I was picking that up, I grabbed I don't know how to pronounce this. It's a Toni Morrison short story. It's been in short story collections. This is the first time it's been published on its own.
Toni Morrison's Recitative.
Okay, Recitative, which from what I understand is a story about a black woman and a white woman, but throughout the book we don't know anybody's race, though race plays such an important like part of their identity. They're two friends who have constantly been coming back into contact with each other over the years, and I wonder if that's what we're reading, is those moments where they meet up again, or if it all takes place like at one time, maybe at an important turning point in like their relationship. I don't know, but I'm excited to just see what it is. It was just sitting on the brand new release best-selling table at my local indie bookstore and I was like, yeah. And then next, an upcoming release I was kindly sent by the publisher is Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie, which again was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I already told you about, and I can't believe I get to read it and I'm so excited. I think it comes out very soon though, like maybe literally this week, which means I should get to it quickly. This is about a girl in high school grappling with her sexuality. She's always had crushes on boys and now she might be having a crush on a girl, but she doesn't know how her family or friends or even like how she perceives herself in this new role that she's never really considered as part of her identity. This is one of my favorite covers of the year. The underneath book is stunning. I love the sideways author description. I'm just really excited about this physical copy. I think it's stunning. That might be all I have physically. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But now a couple quick mentions from my most anticipated that is coming out. Lake Lore by Anna Marie McLemore. This is about two non-binary teens who are pulled into a magical world under a lake. The lines between air and water begin to blur and the world under the lake drifts above the surface. But our characters haven't spoken to each other in a really long time, so I don't know if it's a friendship vibe or if it's like a second chance romance vibe. Either way, I'm very excited to read it. Oh, and then I will also be reading In a Garden Burning Gold for sure at some point. This comes out in April. It's the new Rory Power and it's that one about twins. It's the start of an epic fantasy series and it's about immortality. They're twins. I'm just very intrigued to see what this is, and I guess I need to figure out another video if you want to see my review for it. Speaking of twins and immortality, I hope to read Seasonal Fears. It comes out in, yeah, it comes out in May. I said hopefully because I'm crossing my fingers that an arc magically shows up at my house somewhere. But we'll see. That's the sequel to Middle Game. Middle Game is the one, Roger and Dodger, that I talk about way too much. It's about the alchemical arts. It's this beautiful, beautiful sci-fi fantasy story. This one we're following a different pair of twins, Melanie and Harry, and I'm sure they have a very different relationship and it's going to be just as emotionally impactful though. And then what else? Is there anything else on here I want to tell you about? Oh, Queen of the Tiles! How dare I forget. Hannah Allcalf and her Scrabble book. This is going to be incredible. It's like contemporary meets mystery because this girl is in a Scrabble competition, but her best friend, is she missing? Or did she die? She died. And our main character is just trying to move on with life. But then she gets clues like throughout the day of the Scrabble competition, revealing certain things about the death. And somehow this competition and that are connected. So I think that's it. I'm going to be reading way more things. That's like a third of my overall TBR. But I'm excited I got to tell you about some things. And then one thing that I'm thinking about is running a readathon, which I haven't done in a very long time, in the month of April. And I just want to like put it out there and see if you guys like the vibe. Basically the idea would be about the color of covers. There might have been readathons like this in the past, but I haven't found anything specifically. But it's like you pick a team, like your team pink, and all you read are pink books for that week, or you're part of team blue and all you read is blue books. It's a very simple concept, and I don't want to add much more beyond that besides like some hosts and some reading sprints. I'm scared it could get too involved. I don't want there to be like all of these challenges and all of these details, but maybe there could be like a bunny read. And yeah, that's it. It's just about like the color of the covers. So you figure out what color you have on your TBR the most and you read as many books as you can in that week. I just need a name because I don't want it to be like, I want the essence of rainbow to be in there, but just like Rainbow-a-thon or like Read the Rainbow-a-thon, the Rainbow Readathon. I want it to be more than that, but I don't have the perfect name for it yet. So if you want to give me any suggestions, any ideas, or you guys are always such a good wealth of knowledge and come up with things that I wouldn't. So if you have any ideas or, you know, things that you want to tell me about, that's what I'm thinking for the month, for a week in the month of April. But I'll be sure to let you know like in March if it's going to be a thing and all the details. But yeah, thank you in advance for that. And I look forward to making all of the content and reading all of the books and reviews for all of these titles and 3 times more. I'll see you later. Bye!